April 10, 1912. The RMS Titanic, the most luxurious and technologically advanced ship of its time, embarks on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England. A marvel of human engineering, it is hailed as unsinkable. But in our reality, tragedy struck. 4 days into its journey, the Titanic collided with an iceberg, resulting in one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. But what if fate had taken a different course? What if the Titanic never sank? How would this single event have reshaped history, technology, and even culture as we know it? In this alternate timeline, the Titanic successfully avoids the iceberg. Perhaps Captain Edward Smith received earlier warnings and altered course in time. Or maybe improved visibility and a sharper lookout led to a near miss. Whatever the reason, the ship continues its journey across the Atlantic, arriving in New York on April 17, 1912, to triumphant fanfare. The world's most famous luxury liner is now a living symbol of modern engineering, solidifying the White Star Line as the undisputed leader in transatlantic travel. In our reality, the Titanic disaster led to sweeping changes in maritime safety. International laws were enacted, mandating sufficient lifeboats, 24-hour radio monitoring, and stricter iceberg patrols. But if the Titanic had completed its voyage unscathed, these regulations may have been delayed, or not enforced until another tragedy forced change. Could this delay have led to an even greater disaster? A maritime accident years later with even more lives lost? Without the Titanic tragedy, would shipping companies have continued to ignore vital safety measures? The Titanic's survival would have reshaped the luxury cruise industry. White Star Line, buoyed by the Titanic's triumph, would likely have commissioned a series of even grander vessels, Titanic II, Titanic III, and beyond. These ships might have dominated the market, outpacing competitors like the Cunard Line. Imagine Titanic-themed cruises still operating today, with first-class elegance and modern amenities. Would we now be booking vacations on White Star luxury liners instead of Disney or Royal Caribbean cruises? Without tragedy, the Titanic might not have become a legendary tale of human loss and resilience. James Cameron's 1997 blockbuster Titanic, a cinematic masterpiece that grossed over $2 billion, might never have been made. No Jack and Rose. No My Heart Will Go On. No iconic love story tied to a historic disaster. Would another historical event have captured the world's imagination instead? Perhaps the sinking of the Lusitania or another maritime tragedy would have been immortalized on screen. The Titanic's survival would have had significant economic consequences. White Star Line, rather than suffering financial losses from the disaster, might have grown into a global cruise empire. The modern travel industry might look completely different. The most profound impact of this alternate reality lies in the human lives that were spared. Over 1 of 500 people perished in the icy waters of the North Atlantic. In this scenario, every passenger and crew member disembarked safely. John Jacob Astor IV, one of the richest men in the world, would have continued to expand his business empire, shaping finance and real estate in ways we cannot predict. Lady Duff Gordon, a fashion designer, might have transformed the industry even further. And what about the countless others? Ordinary people whose lives and legacies were cut short. What impact might they have had on history? But here's a sobering thought. History has a way of correcting itself. If not the Titanic, perhaps another major maritime disaster would have become the catalyst for change. Could another ship, lacking the safety improvements inspired by the Titanic, have suffered an even greater loss? Would humanity have still learned the same lessons, but at an even higher cost? In this alternate reality, the Titanic never became a ghostly wreck at the bottom of the Atlantic. Perhaps it would have been retired decades later, preserved as a floating museum, a testament to the golden age of ocean travel. But would it still have held the same mystique? Would the world have been captivated by its story the way we are today? What do you think? Would the world have been better or worse if the Titanic had completed its voyage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.